I want to be that person for someone, because lots of people were that for me. And just one person. That's it. I just want to help one person. So if that means that's not until episode 690, then I'm going to keep doing it until I get 690. So I can tell that person who's listening, you can do hard things. You can get through this. You're going to be better for it. Just hang in there. Endure it well. Just keep going. That's the goal of the podcast. All right, everybody. You know what time it is. It's time to get after it. Let's jump into this. And we're solo tonight. But to combat that a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting, I decided to do a Q&A. I've been asking questions to the audience, just randomly, and I've been compiling some of the questions that that I have been asked. And so I figured, hey, you know what? It's time to finally run through them, answer them, and you can start to learn a little bit more about me on a personal level. We can become friends. That's if you're listening to me right now, we should be friends. I'm in your ears. I sound really nice. Maybe I can. Never mind. Anyways, I'm sorry about that one. But yeah, let's do this thing. I think a Q&A will be fun. And next week we have some pretty other cool guests who are coming on to share their experiences and things. I have this other guy. You might have remembered, I think it's episode 4, but Zach Shepard, he started this foundation where they all just support creating a father present home. And I love that message. I love, that idea of helping people in America become a little bit more present at home. So he's coming back on next week. We're going to have a good conversation, get an update on how his foundation is doing, and go that route. I also have another person coming on who is the founder of Jesus and Jiu Jitsu. So that'll be a good conversation. I'd love to see who Jesus is taking down in Jiu Jitsu. Anyways, that's going to be fun. So we got some good stuff coming up. But until that point, let's run through some questions. And this first one is, what is something that you like outside of business, fitness, and doing your podcast? That's an interesting question, because if you know me, that's pretty much all I talk about are those 3 topics. I love business. It's just fun to go and learn, develop your own skills, and then apply them to business and see them work. I also just love just working to build something, working as a team, and all that stuff. Fitness, same kind of thing. It just provides discipline, consistency, and it teaches you a lot about yourself that normally you don't have that opportunity to really go through. So, and the podcast, I just like it. I've told this to so many people because they're like, oh, you do a podcast. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of selfish, honestly, because I just go and I talk to people I'm interested in having a conversation with. And then I just go back and listen to it if I want to. So it's like a digital diary, if you will. But yeah, that's kind of interesting to me. So, but going to the question, a couple of things. I'm going to make this really high level. I've been getting into the pyramids and aliens a lot recently. I watched the documentary or it's a docu-series on Netflix. It's called Ancient Apocalypse. It's narrated by Graham Hancock. He's the presenter. And let alone, or rest assured, I did buy his book. I got my fiancée to start watching it. And I love her. She says that she likes it, and I hope she does, because otherwise I feel bad about that. Anyways, it's a good show. It talks about how there used to be an ancient civilization that they think was on Earth before us, got wiped out by comets, and all of these temples in Egypt, or the ones in North America, South America, really everywhere, they're all built to track the stars and the different movements of the stars, the alignments of the constellations, and all these things. It's super intense. And then it talks about these snakes, and how these snakes were, the sign of destruction and doom. And the guy, Graham Hancock, he's like, oh, well, the snake is obviously a comet. And then they go and they talk about all the evidence about the specific evidence of all the different comet crash sites and all that stuff. So that's kind of wild. Pretty cool. It's pretty cool, man. Honestly, it's so fun to go down. And then aliens is another one. If you haven't watched the documentary called Bob Lazar in Area 51 on Netflix, just do it on a Sunday night or something. Go find some time to watch it. And if you're not convinced, I want you to type out a paper and send it to me with your argument on why you don't think aliens are real, because I'm fully convinced. Not fully, but I wish they were real. And then I listen to there's another guy, his name's Commander David Fravor, who is I think he's a Top Gun pilot. Don't quote me on that one, but he talks about like how he was on airship carriers and all these different things, and they would come into contact with these things all the time. Search the Tic Tac video, watch it. I'm pretty sure he's the one that's piloting the plane. Sorry, I can't say that. Embarrassing. But yeah, it's just wild. And the way that they talk about these things, I don't know. There's just something to it. Aliens are out there. We're all doomed soon from comets. They're going to destroy the earth. Fully convinced. So yeah, those are two shows I've been watching lately that have sent me down some rabbit holes. Super interesting. I've always liked space though. Space, the ocean, ever since I was a little kid. I think when I was in like kindergarten, I would like go up to my parents and quote all the planets and be like, check it out. Look what I learned today. And so I grew up and they were like, oh, you like space. So they got me a bunch of space books, grew up reading all those. And then my dad was a publisher, so he always would hook it up with books and stuff. But that's another thing I like to do. I love to read. I love reading stories about history and biographies. Man, I am just this might be the most boring topics in the world, but hey, you asked it, so I'm answering the question. I'm fully honest here. But yeah, I like to read. I like to hear different people's perspective. Like one book that I just finished not too long ago was Einstein by Walter Isaacson. It's pretty cool. Like hearing how people would talk about him or the way that he would journal, write things down, and like you kind of get a glimpse into his mindset, into the way he thinks, and it makes you, the reader, feel kind of like a joke because you're like, are you serious? This guy's having these complex questions, and I'm over here in the McDonald's drive-thru asking if I can get a Grimace milkshake so I can go pour it out myself and take a video and put it on TikTok. That's another trend you should go look at. I'm just telling you things that you should go do right now. You're gonna have a whole homework list of all this stuff. But yeah, there you go. That's a couple things I like to do. Reading's a big one though. Get a Kindle. It's a lot better. I'm looking. If you're watching this, cool. But if not, I'm looking at my stack of books, and I have to move here soon. Getting married to Allie. Let's freaking go. But anyways, I have to pack up all these books, and it's just heavy. It's ridiculous. Kindle's where it's at. It's all online. I can read on my computer, my phone, my Kindle, laptop, whatever, iPad. You can even listen to it if you want. Anyway, it's kind of cool. So there you go. There you have it. There's a couple of reasons or a couple of things I like to do. Next question. Do you have any favorite shows or movies? I think I might have answered this before, but favorite TV show, comedy, it's got to be Arrested Development. Favorite show, oh man, I like the show. It used to be Top Gear. They changed it to the Grand Tour, but it's a car show. They just talk all about cars. They go on adventures. Like this last one, they were in Europe. It's kind of fun. So you get it's like a documentary. Plus, I like cars. They're fast. I like cooking shows. So anything that's like the best cooking show is the Chef Show on Netflix. Jon Favreau and I think it's Roy Choi. It's so good. It'll make you super hungry. So make sure you eat before or eat during it. I don't care. Do whatever you want. You're you and I'm me. So that's sick. But yeah, that's a good one. And then in terms of movies, man, The Dark Knight. It's The Dark Knight. That's my favorite one. Prove me that it's not the best one. It's the best one. Literally the way the Joker acts. Come on, I'm gonna do my impression now. It's a Q&A. You're supposed to learn about me. I can do impressions of the Joker. All right, here we go. Never mind. Nope, we're not doing that. That was bad. But yeah, that's probably my favorite movie. Another good one. I think I like anything by Christopher Nolan. So Dunkirk, all the Dark Knight Rises movies. Pretty sure he made Interstellar, Inception. That's a good one. I also really like the Ninja Turtles. Gonna see the new one soon. Scooby-Doo. That's a classic when they go to the island. Man, Anyways, I also just like, yeah, the classics. Like, if I'm feeling sad, I'll watch Baywatch with The Rock. Shout out to Drew, my brother. He does the same thing. Anything with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg is approved in our home, and so that's good. All the Fast and Furiouses, worst movies in the world, but best movies also. Like, I love the fact that it was actually like street racing, and they would go and they'd rob trucks and all that stuff, and now they're saving the world from Jason Momoa. I haven't seen the new one, but I know he's like trying to blow up the world, so stop. But what's cool about the Fast and Furious is all their enemies become their friends. So that's dope. Like Jason Statham tried blowing up the world. Now they're friends. Now they're working together to stop Jason Momoa. And then I think her name's Charlize Theron. Pretty sure that's her. It looks like in the commercial they're teaming up together, and she was also trying to blow up the world. So that failed. It's just kind of cool to see, everyone can come together to save the world, put their differences aside, and be friends. I think that is the message of Fast and Furious. Everyone is family. Wow. I'm learning, guys. This is cool. Learning about my own series. I like those movies. Just guilty pleasures. Okay. We'll get into some more serious questions here. Why do I like running? I don't. So whoever asked this question, you're wrong. I hate it, actually. But that's why I do it. It challenges me more than anything else can, in my opinion. But the reason I say that is weightlifting provides like an intensity, right? Like you can work towards lifting 500 pounds or deadlift 500 pounds. Like working up towards my highest deadlift I ever did was 405. So all the heavy lifters out there, I know it's not that impressive. Cool it. But listen, it took me a while to get there. And as soon as I did it, like it was such a good feeling. But to that point, like 315 was pretty easy at that point. And I could just go do reps for 315, do like 5 sets of 25 and it would be fine. Maybe not 25. That's a lot. But to that point, like you can get really consistent with lifting and the weights just get lighter and lighter. And if that's your goal, that's awesome. And you should do that. Like I still incorporate lifting into my routine. I try and follow like the hybrid training routine. So I'll lift pretty heavy 3 days a week. And then I run 3 days a week as well. And then on Sundays, I usually just like walk around a little bit, stretch. It's more of like an active recovery day. But then on those days that I'm running, I'm also doing push-ups, pull-ups where I can. I go down like in my office. They have like a gym and all that stuff. So I'll just do some pull-ups, crank out some push-ups. But every day is 100 push-ups. So that's good. And then every day there's at least 30 minutes of cardio I'm doing. But going back to the question, why do I like running? I don't. But what running does for me is it challenges me more than anything ever can. Running is something that hasn't gotten easier for me, and I don't think it's going to. I've listened to lots of people. Cam Hanes I've brought up many times on this podcast, but I'm going to refer back to him because he is an ultra marathon runner, so I think he knows what he's talking about. But he talks about that too. He's like, it doesn't ever get easier. Like he'll get up and he'll wake up. Goggins also talks about this. The guy who goes, who's going to carry the boats? That guy. They all talk about it. Like some days they'll look at their shoes and just be like, are you kidding me? I have to go on another run. Like what the hell? Like why is my life this way? And they'll just stare at their shoes until the point to where they're like, okay, let's just shut up. Stop being sorry for yourself. Like let's just go. And they eventually do it. But there is something about running that it's just so hard sometimes. It's difficult. It's a challenge to be like, okay, you know what? I know what I got to do. Like today was a good example for me. Saturdays are usually my long runs. I'm recording this podcast on a Saturday, and I just did 10 miles. But my ankle's been all janky. My foot's been hurting, and it's bruised on top. My ankle's really swollen. Allie wants me to go to the doctor, but I'm really stubborn, and I'm like, oh, it'll resolve itself. But anyway, to that point, I've been running on a treadmill, and it sucks. I hate it. Running outside, the only reason I don't want to run outside is because it's like unlevel. And so I just want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to at least make sure that everything is safe. I don't trip. I don't ruin my ankle more. I am doing active recovery. I'm stretching a lot, all that stuff. But going back to it, I woke up today and I was like, this is going to hurt. I don't want to run outside. It's hot. So I ran on a treadmill for 10 miles and then walked probably a mile afterwards. And it was not fun. It is not fun. I plan on another workout tonight. Allie's gone. She's in Arizona. So I have a lot of time to work out. I'm just going to do 3 miles and then spar on a bag. Just punch it a little bit. But I know when I get on that treadmill tonight for that 3 miles, it's gonna be hard. Like it's not gonna be easy at all. It's still gonna challenge me. That's why I love running. But to that point, it never gets easier. But if you aren't consistent with running, it's way harder than it could be if you were doing some form of cardio every single day. And I'm sure as I get closer to like marathon training again, which I signed up for the Mesa Marathon on February 10th. That's what we're doing for Team Tim. If you'd like info about Team Tim, we're actually going to do a full episode about Team Tim, where it came from. Going to have Allie's mom come on and talk about her relationship with Tim, so you guys can kind of understand what we're trying to do with that. But running is always challenging, and I think that's important. Like, human beings need struggle. The reason why I was like sad and depressed and all this stuff way back when was because I think I was just getting into the swing of things, and life was so easy. And we're so freaking fortunate that we have to go out and find some kind of suffering in order to combat that stuff. Like, I know that sounds weird, but in life, and I heard Goggins explain it this way, in life, there's always 2 forms of suffering. There's chosen suffering and just life crap that's going to happen to you, right? So a loved one dies, you lose your job. Those things are insanely hard to deal with. And unfortunately, you don't have a choice in them sometimes. But chosen suffering, you do. And that's one thing I do with running is I'm suffering just as much as the person next to me on a trail, on a treadmill, on anything. Like, I know they're feeling the same problems I am. And it's like, okay, well, since I know it's hard, I also know I can do it. I have the evidence. I've been able to do this before. If I just hang in there and I stick through until the end, maybe, I'll learn a little bit about myself. And that's another, I think, key point to running that I really like is it teaches you about yourself. If you're committed to running and you stay with it, and when you're at mile 7, when you're trying to get to like 13, and you know how much further you have ahead of you, you can't think about that. You have to force yourself to be in the moment, force yourself to bring it back to, okay, I got to watch where I'm stepping. I don't want to get injured. I don't want to sprain my ankle. It just forces you to be in the moment. I had a conversation with my mentor. His name's John. And he was telling the story of why he loves motorcycles. He was saying, you know what? I really had to talk to my wife about this, but it's something that I need in my life. And so I was like, okay, explain what you're talking about. And so he did. He told me the entire reason why. But he said, he's like, in a car or whatever, you don't really feel the outside temperatures. But he's like, if it's 80 degrees outside and I'm on a motorcycle, I go through a tunnel, then it's 70 degrees. And then he comes out of the tunnel and it's 80 again. And he can feel the temperature changes. And then he's like, I was driving up, it was around lunchtime. I could smell all the restaurants. I drove past a burger place. It smelled delicious. Drove past a Chinese food place. Amazing. And then he drove past another place. I think it was like Burger King or something. He's like, I felt like I was going to throw up. And then he said, it also forces me to make sure that I'm present, because if I'm not, then motorcycles are one of the most dangerous forms of transportation statistically. And he could die at any second. It was weird the way he said it. Honestly, I was like, okay, it's a little bit morbid. But he's like, anytime I leave a parking lot or anytime I leave my house, I have to be thinking that this could be my last ride. This could be the last time I die, or I ride, I could die. And he was just so upfront about it. But he's like, it forces me to be in the moment. It forces me to appreciate small things. And running is some aspect of that for me. Like it humbles me. It makes me feel like I'm so bad at running. I could be way better. I know that's the case, and I'm sure I'll get to the point to where I'm running sub threes and all that. Actually, I'm telling you, I will get to that point. And there's just something about it. It humbles me every time I do it. It forces me to be like, okay, I am a human because my ankle, my foot hurt. My time here is not forever. And so obviously there's going to be challenges that come up because of running and some of my choices. My knee's probably going to give out at some point. Hopefully stem cells and all that crap are really good by then. I just don't have to worry about it. Just go inject that in there and boom, call it good. Whatever you want to say. But that's why I like running. I don't like it, but it teaches me a lot. This next question, how did you meet Allie? Well, go listen to our podcast if you want the full story, but I'll give it to you. Just the Spark Notes version. So we went to school together. We went to high school together. I first met her in my my driver's ed class. I didn't first meet her there, but that's when we became like friends. It was sophomore year, driver's ed. I had hair down to my shoulders. Somehow I still looked somewhat attractive because she asked me to do school dance. We were just going as friends though, nothing too serious, and we were friends all through high school. Hung out with the same people pretty much. It was kind of funny. We were down in Arizona for Easter this year, and opening up my photo albums, I was just like flipping through the pages, saw Allie in my 16th birthday picture. Kind of weird, but she's already in the picture books, so that's dope. We get married in, let me ask Siri real quick. How many days until August 5th? 28 days. Let's freaking go, baby. I'm pumped. She's the best. Anyways, going back to the story. So we were friends all through high school, and we both served missions for our church afterwards, or after we graduated high school. I went up to school in Rexburg, and to be very honest, kind of forgot about Allie. I forgot about a lot of my friends, so don't take that personally, Allie. It's okay. And to that point, like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. But anyways, I went down to Arizona to start this agency with my brothers back when I was doing digital marketing and all that. We ended up closing, and I moved up to Utah. Came down for one of my brother's baby blessings. And I was like, Allie, because she was being nice. I got really sick, and during that entire time, she'd reach out to me, but I would ignore her because I was a D-bag, and I thought I was dying. So I was like, there's no need to have good friendships, whatever. But I was really mean. So if going back, I should have been a little bit more present, or at least responded to her texts. And I came back for a baby blessing. We just got lunch. That was it. And she told me all about Team Tim. She told me all about like her pilot experience and all this stuff and what she's doing now. And when she was going through all this stuff, I was like, man, there's something about this girl that's different. I had been dating lots of people this time, and I pretty much gave up. I was like, this sucks. I'm not dating anymore. For all you people who are dating out there, I feel you. It sucks. And from that point, after lunch, I never let her go. Like, I never would leave her alone. And I'm pretty sure she thought I was pretty creepy. But yeah, this is going to confirm that. I was in Atlanta on a business trip, and she was moving up to Utah to start a branch in Spanish Fork for her brother's flight school that they started in Arizona. To that point, we just never left it, but it's kind of cool. So I convinced my company. I was like, hey, listen, I want to go see my family. I want to just pop in and say hello. It's been a while. Fly me from Atlanta to Arizona, and I'll just hang out with them for a little bit. And so my company's like, yeah, that's fine. Doesn't matter where, like, we send you afterwards. And so, but I did that with the intention of like, I'm going to drive back up to Utah with Allie because she's moving. Like, I want to be a good guy. And so she somehow let me drive with her that entire night. So I fly in, I get in at like 9:30, and it's kind of rough. So I was like, okay, well, I got to wake up super early so I can go on this trip with Allie, this 8-hour drive. No, it was 9, 10 maybe. I don't know, Utah to Arizona. It's a long drive. And the entire time I wouldn't shut up because I was nervous as hell. I was like, oh, frick, I have to make conversation this entire time. And it was just weird. Like, I don't know, but it worked out. I mean, a 10-hour date as your first official date, pretty much. Like, come on. That's pretty good. Smart guy right here. Nice. But yeah, ever since then, like I knew I liked her, and we dated officially. We started dating in January, and now we're getting married in August. So sounds fast, but we have known each other for almost 11 years now, and she's one of my best friends. She is my best friend. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. So she'll probably come on this podcast a little bit more, especially during the Team Tim episode. I want her to kind of share her experience and go through that, but kind of cool. So, what is that? Okay. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be? And this is, I'm sorry, whoever asked, it's a kind of silly question because there's lots of stuff I would say to my 18-year-old self, but, it would just be, don't be scared, really. I think at the time I was someone who was always a little bit nervous about starting life, going through life, figuring out what I wanted to do, figuring out what I want to study in school, and just going through all those difficult decisions that you have to make right after high school. I think high school's a joke, honestly. I haven't used trigonometry or calculus since. But what I have done is like paid bills and tried figuring out what I like to do. Sorry to take a drink. My throat's getting a little dry. If I could go and give some advice to anyone who's in education, maybe it's teach us stuff that we would actually use. That's why I like books are super important to me and all these things. But you have to learn. You have to always try and learn something. Try and educate yourself on a wide variety of topics. Anything, things that interest you, business. If you want to go into healthcare, try and learn there. Listen to podcasts, but just try and educate yourself, because I don't feel like school did that for me. Like I feel like I left school understanding what a thesis statement was, or knowing how to write an MLA format, which I haven't done, by the way, since. I'm obviously not in a profession where I need to write a thesis statement, but like sales communication is something that I think should be taught in school. How to have a conversation with someone, all that. Anyways, I'm on a rant now, just ranting. But to answer the question, what I would do is I'd tell myself, don't be scared. Don't be scared to try things. Don't be scared to put yourself out there. Because if you fail, think of it as a first attempt or second attempt. I don't look at failure as failure. I look at them as times that I'm trying them. So if I had a goal to go run a marathon and I couldn't do it, it's not a failure. That's just attempt number one. Attempt number two is going to be way better. But I have that with all aspects of life. I try and keep that mindset. Like if I jump off a sales call and I absolutely butchered it, it's like, you know what? You tried. Please learn from that. Like take notes on it and just don't do it again, because that'll just give you more data to make you better. And that's the whole point, is you have to just try things. Don't be scared to try things. Allie and I talk a lot about this. This is something, we never want fear to get in the way of any decision making that we do. And that could be, we're scared to buy a house because that's a big financial purchase. Who cares? If we can do it, and we both know we can, let's freaking do it. Anyways, that's one piece of advice. The other thing I would say is live like you're poor. I think that's good advice. Like just grind, work hard. Don't get caught up in trying to buy things or trying to put out an image of yourself. Like I like to gamify my finances, and this is going to be kind of weird, but it's kind of fun for me. I try and make the most amount of money I can and spend the least. And the reason why is, like, obviously I want to take care of investments and all those things and like your cost of living. But if you can force your cost of living to go down, like you don't have to go out every single night. You can buy cheap food. Like it doesn't have to be anything crazy. You don't need the fanciest clothes. You can still look nice. I buy stuff from Walmart all the time to wear to work, and everyone's like, "What is that, Lulu?" And I'm like, "No, it's freaking Walmart, bitch." I apologize for the swearing. Just thought it was kind of appropriate at the time. But yeah, like you don't need to put out this image. Instead, you should focus on like, how can I keep getting better? Because eventually the money will come. That's a lesson I am learning, is like, if you just focus on working and putting your best foot forward, trying to get trying to better yourself, eventually it comes. Like, you should invest in yourself. Don't invest in clothes or cars or I don't know, anything fancy. Like, you don't need that stuff. Invest in yourself. Try and teach yourself things. Like Allie and I, when we get married, we want to have a couple different budgets. One for travel. Every year we want to go on like a trip. I think that's important to go experience the world. The other thing too is like a budget for learning. So one thing that we want to do is we both want to learn Spanish, and so we're going to take a Spanish class. I don't know how much that's going to cost, but I love the opportunity to learn how to speak Spanish. So if I ever go to like Mexico or anywhere where I might need it, I'd love that opportunity to just be able to communicate with other people instead of wearing a Gucci shirt. Like, that means nothing to me. I'm wearing right now a $10 hoodie from Costco. I don't think you need to spend a lot. That's just my philosophy, though. So those are two pieces of advice I'd probably give my 18-year-old self: is don't be scared and live like you're poor. So anyways, next question. Let's go. How do you surround yourself with great people? So this is something I asked my LinkedIn friends on there. And if you're on LinkedIn, jump on there and follow me. We can have a good conversation. But I had a post where I literally asked this, because that's one thing I'm beginning to understand, is the importance of surrounding yourself by great people. I want to make sure that the people who I talk to, who I communicate with, are all better than me. And that's a hard thing to do, especially depending on where you're at. That could be a really difficult thing. So my question was, if someone is trying to achieve their goals but is constantly being discouraged by those around them, what guidance would you offer? Basically, how do you find people who have the same ideas, concepts that they live by, and how do you surround yourself with better people? So I got some good answers. This one comes from Sean West, who is he's a CFP, but he says realists and futuristic thinkers can both play a role in accomplishing your dreams and goals. I don't think one is more important than the other. I'm a futuristic thinker, which goes well with my profession in planning, but it helps to have a realist keep some of our dreams in check. Dreamers like Musk and Jobs are great examples of those pushing the frontier who have said no to countless realists. But I'd be curious as to how many realists have actually helped them accomplish their goals too. Great topic. Good luck in your podcast. Thanks, Sean. I hope this is going well. But to go into that a little bit, I think that's cool. Like, you should figure out about yourself first and what your goals are. If you're a dreamer, if you are a realist, if you're a futuristic thinker, and kind of ask yourself these questions. Be like, what do I want? And who kind of has these same principles that I follow too? And then go talk to them. I don't know. Don't be scared. And that's where the advice of my 18-year-old self comes in, is don't be scared to go talk to someone. Like, I have the CRO of a $1 billion company as one of my mentors, but the only reason why is because I asked him. 1.5 billion, actually. Let's freaking go. But like, I wasn't scared. Actually, I was. That's a lie. But now I'm not scared to talk to this guy. But you shouldn't be scared to go ask these people that you're interested in talking to. You shouldn't be scared to ask them to be your friends or be your mentors, or ask them like to have a conversation. Because most likely, most people who you are like, hey, come be my friend, please, that's not going to go well. Anyways, good idea from Sean. Kelly says, I'm interested in hearing what others have to say about this. It's funny. I was honestly thinking about this during my entire workout last night. A friend of mine wrote about how he typically trains alone and how difficult it gets sometimes. I train alone as well and have similar sentiments. So it got me thinking. We're often told to surround ourselves with people that push us to be better, to challenge us, kind of the don't be the smartest person in the room type deal. Nice, I was just talking about that. But no one talks about how difficult these types of people are to find. That's a good point. It is really hard to do that. I responded to her. I'm going to read it. Kelly, I train alone as well. Great time for me to decompress and have time to think. Boom. That's another reason I love running. I agree with you, Brett. It's hard to find people that align with your goals. That said, I believe it's worth the time investment to gain access to lifelong relationships. And then she responded and said, oh, I totally agree. I'd 100% invest the time, but where the heck are they? Even in the gym, at least for me. It's rare to find someone else putting in real effort and not staring at their phone half the time. That's a big pet peeve for me. If you're going to the gym, go to the freaking gym. Don't look at your phone. So Kelly, I agree with you on lots of this stuff. But yes, it is an investment of time. And to her point, she says, where are they? Where the heck are they? I think that's part of the investment of time. You have to find out that for yourself. You have to figure it out. Where are these people that I want to surround myself with? I'm fortunate enough to work at a company where I am not the smartest person in the room. And so I go and talk to all these people. I ask them questions and have conversations with them. And a lot of them are my friends now. Oh, man, I like this. I remember this response. This was good. This guy's name is Grant. Grant, thank you for this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes now. Anyways, his response is simple. He says, this reminds me of a graphic I saw on LinkedIn recently, Brett. It said, make friends with people who will defend you in rooms you aren't in. I love that quote. Yeah, I said, I've never heard that quote. Adding it to my list. I appreciate the comment. He says, no problem. See, if you're on LinkedIn, we could be friends. Every other social platform I kind of suck at posting on, but LinkedIn, I'm pretty damn good. Anyways, Grant makes a good point. Make friends with people who will defend you in rooms you aren't in. That's something that is really important to me. Loyalty. I am fiercely loyal. Ask anyone. If you are someone who is in my circle, I will defend you until I die. Because the people who are in my circle are people who make me better, who are my friends, who I trust, and who have done something like memorable in my life. Like, since we talked about her, Allie, she's the best. I know for a fact that she will defend me in rooms. And I tell her all the time, I'm like, you know what? I'm really sorry, but your future husband, he's going to be doing a podcast. I hope it's not cringy for you. But I know if I wasn't there and someone at a party was like, oh yeah, and she overheard this, she's like, Brad has a podcast? That's kind of weird. I know for a fact Allie would step in and be like, yeah, he does have a podcast and it's the best podcast. You should go listen to it. Even though it's probably not the best podcast. But I know she'll defend me. I know she will. That's one of Jocko's quotes too, is he's like, talking about how you find the person you want to marry. And he goes, you should want to go to war with them. And I'm going to go to war with Allie. Once World War III pops off, Allie and I are not going to be able to be stopped. But I would for sure go to war with her. She's the best person that I've met. But finding people like that who support you, who don't beat you down. Never once has anyone in my circle said, you should stop doing that podcast. You have no followers. You're not going to compete with people like Chris Williamson, like Joe Rogan. Good luck. Like, that's not the point of this podcast. Anyways, I kind of went on a rant there. But find people that surround yourself with people that will defend you. This other guy, Robert Johnson, says, I'm currently paying for a professional coaching. As a part of that, the group of men in my group are amazing. We're all committed to our goals and helping each other succeed. There is accountability like no other in a huge support group. What we are doing as a group is crazy. So having the right people around you can and will catapult you to success. That's another good one. You can literally go pay to be with people that are like-minded. Like I went to Jocko's Muster 11, 011. Boom, baby. It was in Phoenix. But everyone there, I guarantee you, had a similar mindset to me. They're someone who's going to get after it. And so, yeah, that could be another good reason to find some friends, is go join some groups that you agree with. This one is from my manager, Kate, who is a beast. Shout out to Kate. She says, sometimes I think it's a matter of trusting your gut. Agreed. If you feel there's someone in your life, work or personal, who you feel you can learn from, encourages you, and supports you, then you want to invest time in that relationship. If you feel someone is not doing those things or bringing positive influence to your life, then you should trust yourself and know not to spend energy there. peel it back, do a gut check, and go from there. Boom. I couldn't have said it better myself. That's why Kate's the best manager. Anyways, that's huge. Yeah, like that pretty much tells you, like, where's my time best spent? Is this person going to discourage me and tell me, hey, don't do your podcast, Brett. You suck at it. You're not as good as all these other people. Or are they going to be like, you know what? Here's some feedback you could do to maybe try and reach a new audience, or maybe make the information a little bit more relevant to your audience. Like, I'm going to go spend more time with that person who's telling me some suggestions as actually taking care of, or like taking interest in the things that I care about. And I'm not going to really invest a lot of time in the guy who's trying to tell me no. Like, don't do it. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, shout out to Kate. That was a good response. Going into the next question, what is the goal of the podcast? That's a good question. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, or at least part of it a little bit earlier, but it is selfish for me, honestly. I just love talking to people, having conversations with them, and seeing what I can learn from them. And a lot of the people who I have on the podcast, I think, have similar mindsets to myself. And to Kate's point, I'm going to invest more time with those kind of people, the people who I respect and admire and want to learn something from. The goal of the podcast is to have people on that I don't know topics or information about, like the topic that they're excited about. Have them on, come talk about it, so you can listen to them and get excited about your own passion. But the overall goal of the podcast, I just want to help at least one person to be motivated, get excited about trying something new, and don't be scared to do it. When I was sick, podcasts are what got me through it, really. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't watch any shows. Looking at screens would like give me migraines. And so after work, after I was like forced to look at screens all day, I had a terrible headache. And the last thing I wanted to do was look at screens. And so I'd just take a nap after work, which I never took a nap. I just lay there with headphones on and eye mask. Shout out to eye masks. They look real good. But when I would put my headphones on and listen to podcasts, because it was the only thing that like interests me and made me feel like I wasn't sick. It made me feel, it's going to sound weird, but like when I had my headphones on, my eye mask on, it felt like I wasn't sick. It felt like I was just Brett. That's normal again. So I was just laying down listening to people. But big shout out to Cameron Haynes, Jocko, lots of Joe Rogan, even Brian Shaw. I listen to his podcast a lot. Theo Vaughn, that was like the comedy podcast I would listen to, like get my mind off things. But that's the only thing that I could listen to distract me, really, and get my mind off the fact that I had no energy. I felt like hell. My joints hurt. All these different problems that I was running through. And like the podcast just helped me. That's it. It made me feel like, because all these men were, and sometimes women, they would talk about like challenging things, especially Cameron Haynes. Cameron Haynes, please let me have you on the podcast. Let me run Mount Pigsa with you. I want to do it. Or Pisgah. Please, Cameron Haynes. Shout out to Cameron Haynes. If anyone knows Cameron Haynes, come on, please. Anyways, but I would listen to those things and it would just get me through. And if I could do that for someone else, I want to do that for someone. Because Cameron Haynes, he would tell me, not tell me directly, but through his podcast, like doing hard stuff is what brings joy in life. And I fully agree with him. Like doing hard stuff challenges yourself and makes you step out of your comfort zone, learn a lot about yourself, and just try and be a little bit better every day, you know? That's it. But I would tell myself, I can endure. I can hang in there. I can, as Cameron says, keep hammering. I could do that. And I want to be that support for someone else at some point. Obviously, it's going to probably be a couple years down the road because I don't plan on stopping this podcast. It's a weekly podcast, and I'm committed to consistency, which is the next question we'll go into a little bit. But that's it. That's the goal, is to help that one person. I want to be that person for someone, because lots of people were that for me. And just one person. That's it. I just want to help one person. So if that means that's not until episode 690, then I'm going to keep doing it until I get 690. So I can tell that person who's listening, you can do hard things. You can get through this. You're going to be better for it. Just hang in there and endure it well. Just keep going. That's the goal of the podcast. One person. Next question. Consistency seems to be an important trait you tend to talk about. What do you do, or what would you recommend to start being more consistent? Just show up. And as simple as that sounds, that's really all it takes. If you want to be consistent, just start doing whatever you want to be at. I think the gym is a good example of this, so let's start there. But James Clear, he's the author of Atomic Habits. One thing that he talks about, he gives this story about this guy who wanted to lose weight. He wanted to start going to the gym. He wanted to start getting better and all this stuff. And he would show up to the gym and only give himself 5 minutes. This is a daily thing. So you go to the gym for 5 minutes. As soon as that watch went off or his timer went off, he goes home. And he just kept doing that until he's at the point where he's like, oh yeah, I go to the gym every day. But then anyways, it's a weird story. But he just wanted to become a person who goes to the gym. And I think you probably should stay there a little bit longer, but I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to just get in the mindset of, you know what, I go to the gym every day. And it's kind of like the story of JT, who was on my podcast. He talked a little bit about this. He said when he wanted to be more consistent with running, and he talks about how he was an obese kid, he just ran a quarter mile one day and did it the next day and then did it the next day. Just a quarter mile, nothing crazy. But he went up to his mom and he's like, hey mom, guess what? I'm a runner. I run every day. And the next day he did a half mile. And then he finally made his way to a mile. And now he's racing in triathlons, all that stuff. But to that point, like, you have to start small. I fight my brothers on this all the time because they'll be like, hey, like, I want to eat healthier. Help me be a little bit more consistent with that. It's like, just start small, because if you go all in and you just give it your all, and sometimes that does work. I will put a caveat there. Sometimes, like, if you're addicted to drugs, sometimes you're just going to have to drop it. Or if you want to stop drinking alcohol, you just got to drop it cold turkey. But if you want to develop long-lasting habits and you want them to be easy to obtain, you start small. If you want to change your diet, change one meal, change 2 meals the next day, or whatever you want to do. Change one meal until you're used to eating that, and then go from there. But consistency starts with small changes. I was not someone who can run. I'm probably averaging about 40 miles a week. But I was not someone, if you looked at me in high school, that could do that. I know 40, there's people out there that do that in a day. But I know that also if I keep at it and if I remain consistent, that number can increase pretty easily. Anything in life that you want to get better at, just remove barriers that make it hard to do. Like, if you want to get better at going to the gym, but you have a hard time waking up and deciding an outfit, then pick it out the night before and set it out. Jocko does that. He sets out his nightly outfit. And that sounds cheesy, but there's little things that you can do. Little tiny things. If you want to lose weight, start going on 30-minute walks a day. Not hard. Anyone can walk. Most people can walk. I'll say that. There are some people who have difficulties. I'll be graceful there. But just freaking walk. Just go do it. Just get off the couch and go do it. Most people don't do that part. If you want to be consistent, you have to show up. And Jocko talks about this too. I brought him up many times on this podcast. I apologize. But he says there's going to be days when you can't rely on motivation. You have to be disciplined. And there's going to be times when your discipline is going to be tested. Especially like with fitness, that's a big test. You might not want to go to the gym every day. Let me paint you a picture here. You wake up, it's dark outside, it's the middle of winter. Road's got a bunch of ice on it. You got 3 hours of sleep last night. You're working on a project for work because you got to give a presentation to the CEO. but you still know you got to go to the gym, but you don't have a lot of energy, but you want to be someone who goes to the gym, then just go through the motions. And that's what Jocko talks about, is just go through the motions. Show up, still give it as much effort as you can. If that means you're just walking on the treadmill, or if you're just doing yoga, if you're just doing stretching, whatever, but just show up, because that's how habits are built. And that's how consistency starts, is you have to actually start doing the thing that you don't want to do. And eventually you'll love it. One of my favorite quotes from Chris Williamson, he's got a really good podcast. So if you don't know what that is, go listen to it. It's called Modern Wisdom. But he says this: discipline is an investment in the future where discipline will no longer be needed. I'm going to say that again because it's one of my favorite quotes. Discipline is an investment in the future where discipline will no longer be needed. What's he mean by that? Pretty simple to me. If you start showing up and you get into the habit to where that's who you become, boom, you won't need discipline anymore. And I agree with that fully, because I still wake up at 4:30 every day. And I'm pretty sure I started that right before I went to college, or like at the beginning of my college time, which was 6 years ago. So I've been doing it. And now it's like, it just happens. Like, I don't have to think about it now. Same with the gym. I feel it's harder to get me not to go to the gym than to go to the gym now. But these habits, they come up. Same with eating healthy. Like, my body now is at a point to where if I go and eat a pizza, I'm messed up for like 2 days. It just doesn't like process food the same, because I think I've just been so consistent with my diet and disciplined with it, to where now I don't even need that discipline, because my body's like, hey, this is what we do now. We just go on runs, we eat healthy, we lift weights, we do these things. And I'm not trying to hype myself up or to say like, oh yes, I'm the best at this, because I'm definitely not. There's days where my discipline is freaking tested. But you got to do it. You just got to do it. You got to suck it up, realize it's going to suck, but it's also going to be temporary. Anything painful is temporary. You just got to get through it. I'm telling you, just get through it. All right. I've been talking for a while now, and I hope this was at least beneficial for you, but I do want to, let me pull up this quote. This is a quote from this guy. His name's Dieter F. Uchtdorf. I'm pulling it up right now. All right. So here's his quote. He says, at the end of the day, your life, your whole existence has the same haphazard quality too. Your whole life has the same shape as a single day. Do you want to change the shape of your life? Change the shape of your day. Do you want to change your day? Change this hour. Change what you think, feel, and do at this very moment. A small rudder can steer a large ship. Small bricks can become magnificent mansions. Small seeds can become towering sequoias. Minutes and hours well spent are the building blocks of life, a life well lived. They can inspire goodness, lift us from captivity of imperfections, and lead us upward towards a redemptive path of forgiveness and sanctification. He is a religious guy, so that is something just to keep in mind. But he talks about some good things. Like, you want to change your day, change this hour. You want to change this hour, then literally change the minutes, or change what you're thinking about. But his point is, it's the small changes that last long, and those are the ones that are most effective. So there you go. That was a quick Q&A. Not quick, actually. I think we're running at almost an hour here. That's kind of sick. You could just talk for an hour. Maybe I'm a psychopath, actually. I don't actually know very many people that could just randomly talk, just keep going for like an hour. Maybe I need to go to therapy. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I appreciate the questions. Keep sending them. I love getting feedback from everyone and from the listeners, and from hearing what you guys think about the podcast. If you like this format, maybe we can keep doing this like a monthly basis or whatever. But I appreciate you guys listening. If it was at all helpful for you, please share it. It's the only way that we can get better, and I want to help that one person. So thanks for tuning in, and keep getting after it, everybody.